Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll start by quoting the Honorable Prime Minister, as well as, Mr. Speaker, say myself, on what we said during the Girmit commemoration and reconciliation service organized by the Methodist Church of Fiji and Rotuma at the Vodafone Dome on Sunday, 14th May this year. Mr. Speaker said this is relevant to the debate on the need for Parliament to agree to the establishment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Mr. Speaker said this is not a bill, as stated by Honorable Rabu Nawa. This is a motion to establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And all the motion, Mr. Speaker says, seeks to do is to ask the Parliament to agree to the appointment of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission so that we can have some debate, have some discussion as to what it will amount to. Obviously, the terms of reference, the appointment by the President of the Commission will be after the Parliament agrees. The Honourable Prime Minister, while confessing his wrongdoing in 1987 and asking for forgiveness, said, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, "We confess our wrongdoings. We confess that we have hurt so many of our people in Fiji, particularly those of our Indo-Fijian communities at that time, and among them were sons and daughters of those that were indentured as laborers from India between 1879 and 1916. The power to forgive is beyond our human power. The power to forgive is godly. As you forgive, you release us and you are released. You are released from hatred, from your anger, and we begin to feel the peace of God coming to our beings and our lives," unquote. I quote what I said on that momentous day, Mr. Speaker. This may well be the start of resetting the moral compass of our nation and repairing the social, moral and political fabric so badly needed to forge a united and harmonious future. More importantly, what Fiji and our diaspora have just witnessed has sowed the seeds for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission so critically needed to put a permanent closure to our ugly chapter of upheavals. Once and for all, it will put an end to those whose political ambitions revolve around invoking fear and ill will by fanning the flames of racism. The courage and humility of the Methodist Church in apologizing for the hurt, pain and suffering caused to the descendants of the Girmitia community by the Itoke community should be an eye-opener to all those who have participated in political upheavals but continue to defend their role, unquote. Mr. Speaker, I wholeheartedly support this historic motion, and this is, Mr. Speaker, if I may state, a National Federation Party motion, seconded by the Honourable Prime Minister as the leader of the People's Alliance Party, and also supported by the Sudalpa Party and its leader. Mr. Speaker, the motion was entrusted to what I say an Indo-Fijian woman of the NFP, the party that I lead, by us in the coalition government, including the Prime Minister, and to which Honorable Sashi Kiran did not hesitate to do. The issue of harmonious race relations, Mr. Speaker said, is a long-held passion that she herself, Mr. Speaker, has toiled in a previous role as an NGO leader. And I must say, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kiran is a perfect example of someone who has learned to confront her own fears, not by castigating others or play the blame game, but by making an honest effort to understand the wishes, aspirations, and fears of other races or ethnic groups. That is why Honorable Shashi Kiran is such a passionate advocate, say, of Luvendrani Ratu Mainodo Reva. We've heard before that the commission is a prerequisite, Mr. Speaker said, to genuine healing, which is crucial to our effort to make Fiji a land of hope and opportunity. Mr. Speaker, you may not be aware that in conformity to the NFP's principles, and the party that tried to move a similar motion in Parliament during its sitting in April 2017. And of course, Mr. Speaker, that motion was not allowed. 6 years later, sir, under your leadership, we are kind of putting a rest to our ghosts and essentially laying the foundation for what a nation wants to bequeath to our future generations. And that too, Mr. Speaker, and as you said earlier this morning, without promoting or provoking ill will or any kind of hostility impinging upon rights and freedoms of our people. I think, Mr. Speaker, a commission is necessary for us as Fijians to come to terms with the past. And there is quite a lot. You know, some have gone to Gurmit days, others have gone even before that, because we need to accept this on a morally accepted basis and to advance the cause of reconciliation somewhere. I know, Mr. Speaker, it is not a secret that attempts to reconcile in the past, efforts to encourage truth-telling, confessing our wrongdoings, or even apologizing to the victims of political upheavals, were turned into political football and grandstanding. And that's, Mr. Speaker, we are aware. And for many years, truth-telling and taking ownership of mistakes that have rocked the nation had actually disappeared. And until May 14th, 2023, Mr. Speaker, on the occasion of the Gurmit Day, reconciliation organized by the Methodist Church, no racial intolerance, but love, respect, and showers of goodwill and understanding and mutual peaceful coexistence. The Fiji Forward Declaration, Mr. Speaker, on that occasion that we signed, cemented our resolve to working together and the leaders of political parties without any fear or racial prejudice. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that some may argue, as we've heard, that the establishment of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission will open old wounds, impede progress. However, Mr. Speaker, I firmly believe that through confronting our past, we can actually find a way for a brighter and more harmonious future. Sometimes confronting the past, discussing the past, what happened in the past, can lead to better future. It can shine light on truth. It can address, we've heard mention about deep-rooted, underlying mistrust, prejudice, divisions that hinder, us moving forward. I know South African experience has been mentioned. The South African experience, Mr. Speaker, demonstrated the transformative power of collective truth-telling and forgiveness. And it kind of provided a blueprint for healing, unity, and growth. Mr. Speaker, I want to just respond to some of the points that have been raised before. I think Honorable Napoto was right when he was talking about stability, security. He related those two issues. If you look at Fiji, Mr. Speaker, 38 years ago, 39 years ago, we were better than Mauritius on all indicators, economic, social indicators. And some of us were wondering why Fiji cannot be the Mauritius of the Pacific. And a lot of the research, a lot of the studies, my own research on Mauritius and comparison to Fiji shows that the respect for rule of law, democracy, but more importantly, the social cohesion. Because, Mr. Speaker, we talked about law. I know honorable members from the other side talked about rule of law, the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, if there is no sense of purpose, unity, trust between different communities, if there are prejudices, mistrust, then any law, these things, Mr. Speaker, you cannot legislate. I mean, we've seen 3, 4 constitutions in this country. 1970 constitution was agreed to by the then NFP leader and the leader of the Alliance Party. It was in many ways a negotiated constitution. It provided, a Bill of Rights. It provided a system of government where all those principles were embedded. But that constitution was thrown out. Then we had the 1990 constitution, Mr. Speaker, which was imposed. Then the Honorable Prime Minister showed leadership with the other political leaders and got the 97 constitution, which actually provided power sharing. It was more a constitutional type of politics where power sharing was made a law. Yet, Mr. Speaker, that constitution was also thrown out. Then, Mr. Speaker, we had the 2013 constitution, imposed on the people of Fiji. It might be the best constitution in the views of people or the population, a sizable section of the population. But Mr. Speaker, laws, we have heard about laws and policies. Yes, laws and policies are important. You know, I had members talk about issues. Yes, those are issues that we need to deal with. Whether it's drug, whether it's NCDs, whether it's economic growth, whether it's poverty, whether it's lack of economic growth. These things don't happen in a vacuum. And Mr. Speaker, this motion is a great opportunity. This is not about hiding something, as the Prime Minister said, and he's absolutely right. If there is anything in this House, amongst us right now, it's something that he would, but he is showing the wisdom and saying that let's talk about it. In any conflict, even small family household setting, Mr. Speaker, if there is a dispute, if the people are not getting on, if you don't talk about it, if you try and hide it under some kind of law and policy, it will never work, Mr. Speaker. It has never worked in any country. It needs, Honorable Kumar talked about political maturity. Yes, this is political maturity. This is political maturity, that we as members of parliament are prepared to talk about what happened in the past, Mr. Speaker said. We are showing courage as members of parliament. But if we say, look, we don't want to talk about this. We want to go by some law that everybody should respect without addressing the underlying principles, without talking about how we can merge our interests, how we can enhance social cohesion at all levels, Mr. Speaker. You cannot guarantee, you cannot satisfy. I think Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Mr. Speaker, is also about education. We cannot continue to be cantankerous in our, expressions of views that we hold very strongly at a personal level. Mr. Speaker, personally, we're all part of it, in terms of opposing, talking about democracy, talking about human rights. There are a lot of human rights violations that took place in the last so many years. Whether you talk about 87, 2000, 2006, people died, after their human rights were violated. Some, waited for 10, 15 years to come back to their own country. Couldn't. These are all issues there, Mr. Speaker. And this is a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity for this parliament to talk about these things. It is not about opening old wounds. The old wounds are there. And we keep talking about those wounds. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kumar talked about confidence, that this will somehow shatter confidence. In fact, Mr. Speaker, what this motion will do, if the honourable members of the opposition give this a bipartisan support, this will be a defining moment for this country, Mr. Speaker. This will spur confidence. This will bring that sense of freedom and exuberance in the ability of our country to confront the issues that we might have. And everybody knows it's not true that Fiji is not recognized as a country where there are issues, and we keep talking about it here, in Parliament as well. When we were in the opposition, we talked about it. Some people say about the Constitution, Honourable P.O. Tikunduundu talked about how the police force was totally racialized. You know, in terms of 90% of the officers coming from one particular group. It happened under 2013 Constitution. So it's not always about law. It's not always about policies. You can have the best Constitution, you can have the best law, you can think about the best policies, but if there is no sense of unity, purpose, understanding each other's sensitivities, fears, expressions, Mr. Speaker, we will not be able to. I'm not saying, Mr. Speaker, the mover of the motion is not saying that we will solve all the problems tomorrow after Truth and Reconciliation Commission. No, nobody is saying that. But, Mr. Speaker, it will be a great opportunity for us, not only as members of Parliament, because when you talk about political maturity and what people see below, comes from that political maturity, that ability to get together and talk about issues. So, Mr. Speaker, with those words, I urge the honourable members on the opposition side not to forgo this opportunity. This is going to be an historic opportunity, historic bipartisan opportunity to work together. We may not agree with all the the pluses and minuses of having a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, but at least we would have tried all together collectively to move towards a situation where we are able to come together and talk about these issues and move forward. I strongly commend this motion to all the honourable members of this Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable members, we still have 3 more speakers. And I will now offer the floor to Honourable Ketan Lal, and then